Well, thank you for sitting down. And as you know, my whole idea behind this was basically to take plenty of conversations we've had over the years and share a little bit with people that haven't been here, haven't had the chance to meet you. What a great backdrop to film in. I want to do this in my house. This is great.
Well, you need a lot of molds to do that. We can ship them.
I'm sure. Well, for somebody that doesn't know you, let me cover a little history things
Okay.
first. So your family has been in tobacco for 6 generations plus, but the cigar making is really only in the last 20 years.
Correct.
So tell me about that.
Oh, it was fantastic. You know, the field part, it's in our veins. It's what we've always done. Everything. That's what we started doing. That's what my dad did, my grandparents. That's what the generations is all about. But my dad wanted to do something more. He was always very passionate, and he saw that a lot of people were doing cigars, and he wanted to get involved in that. He actually worked in another factory before. So that's, I guess, where he got the idea, and he was very passionate about it, and he decided to make cigars as well. One of his brothers, Nirka Reyes, also made cigars at the time. So I guess he wasn't the only person on the 5th generation, but decided that taking our family into the next step was a great idea. And for me to be the one who continues the legacy, it's a blessing. I would have never guessed growing up that this is what I would have been doing because I don't know if it's the thing about growing up in Dominican Republic. I always thought this is what my brother Augusto would do. It never crossed my mind that I would find my calling here in the Los Reyes Cigars, but I did, and I would never imagine myself doing something that it's not involved on the tobacco world, because I love it. It's so passionate. It's so beautiful the way we connect as people that enjoy this world.
What's your earliest memory of tobacco?
Earliest memory of tobacco, it has to be the fields.
The fields, okay.
Yeah, it has to be the fields, because we used to go to Navarrete and just like run around in them. Mm-hmm. And then I would guess factory-wise, people would guess it's the rolling thing, but for me it was packaging.
It was packaging.
It was packaging. I love hanging around in packaging departments. There was these like little carton boxes that you could like self-assemble, and I would sit around for hours, and I love to do that on summer breaks. That was like my fondest memories.
Now, is that why, because I've been on formal tours here before, you guys take every people through all the stages of it, but you include packaging.
Yes, we do.
I mean, some factories will say, hey, we're gonna roll a cigar, and they'll put people at the table. But you guys take them through the entire stage,
yeah,
and into packaging, where they actually do all their own packaging.
Well, you're giving me something new. I didn't actually know that people didn't include packaging in their tours.
No, never.
Oh, that's new. Well, yeah, because I believe that when people come to the Dominican Republic, or when they come to a Pro Cigar Festival, they want to experience everything, absolutely everything. And I want to teach them everything, because one of the reasons why I love this industry, it's because you get to learn something new every time. Every day you learn something new. And showing packaging is an important part, because that's the first thing that consumers and retailers see in their shops, is the packaging. And it's an interesting part.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about that later, because your influence on packaging is very apparent. Let's skip a little bit to, you know, when you took over the factory.
Okay.
So you're barely in your 20s.
Uh-huh.
So you've already got one mark against you, walking in with people that have been here for years, or people that have been in the industry for years. So what did that feel? I mean, how do you walk into that at that young of an, what were you, 22?
Yeah, I was 22.
Yeah, you're 22 years old. You walk in and like, okay, now you're in charge of all of this.
First of all, what I tell people, because that's honestly how it felt like playing Monopoly, but with real money. That's my overall feeling, and of course I needed a strategy. But who do I go to for that rule book? I had no one, because first, super young, second, woman, It's like I have to write my own set of rules in order to accomplish what no one had done at the time.
Well, and because you don't have 6 generations of a factory,
Exactly.
It's not like you're just taking over the reins. You're still going to have to create a lot.
Exactly. And of course, I had the privilege of my father, who's always scribbling around. He had a lot of his knowledge written down. And of course, I could meet him and ask him questions about production and all that. But how do I leave a legacy? How do I put a little bit of myself in what I'm doing? And also, I had the privilege of working in ProCigar. And being a member of ProCigar and working alongside with one of the brightest minds of the tobacco world. And one of my first strategies was listening a lot and absorbing knowledge, because I learned very, very early on that, you know, they saw me as Fufi's daughter.
Sure.
You know, because they saw me grow up, and I was this 5-year-old little girl that was making dances at Christmas holiday parties and stuff. So for them, it took a while for me to gain their respect. So at the beginning, I was listening a lot to what they were saying, on how they dealt with things, on how things were done. But also, I wanted to work. It wasn't, I just didn't want to be the person who got the seats. I wanted to work. So when they needed someone at ProCigar to do something, I would always say yes. Same at the factory. When we had a problem or a delay in packaging or shipping or whatever, I was saying here the extra hours. My dad always told me you had to be the first one in and the latest one to leave, and I applied that. Sometimes I even slept on the couches on the office. Like, thank God I have a shower in the bathroom of my office, but I spent long hours working here at the beginning. I did the work. I did go to every single step. I met with the suppliers. I did everything that one can do, but I set strong roots on what my vision was. Against all odds, I didn't see the love that my dad had in the products that we were making. They were that products. Soulless. They didn't have passion, because my family was doing millions of cigars for a lot of mail order companies, and you know, it didn't portray what I was learning about the tobacco industry in what we were doing. So even though I was learning, I was set straight on the fact that I wanted to make high quality products, high quality cigars. I wanted to make art, and that was my main focus at the beginning. And at the beginning, yes, of course, at 22-year-old, I wanted to look older. You know, I wanted to play the game. I was always wearing the guayaberas and, you know, some things that I don't do now because I feel more comfortable in my skin and I've done the job and so on. But at the beginning, you know, I was very, very serious. I wouldn't drink on any event because, you know, I was serious, and I wanted to be taken seriously based on my knowledge. I didn't want to be the pretty girl on a pretty dress on a party. I wanted to be, you know, the woman that people went to because of the knowledge. And that's step by step how I knew when in a ProCigar meeting I didn't give an opinion, and Henky would ask, "But Nirka, what do you think?" And I was like, oh, there's something here.
Right.
Or we have to send a delegation to Santo Domingo because there's this thing with the FDA. Who are we going to send? And they would say, Nirka should be on that team. You know? And little by little, or in the factory, when at the beginning they were like, oh, they send us the girl now to manage the factory, to the level that they would ask me serious questions on the tobacco, or they would give me a cigar off the table to check the quality themselves, because they knew that I already could check the quality of the cigars and give them an honest opinion. So for me, it was better than any prize that someone can give me, because I gained the respect. It wasn't given to me.
And I'm sure they're testing you all along the way.
Yeah, they do. They do.
So your dad was very, you know, as you're going through the development of this, my understanding is your dad was very adamant about you learning everything. You weren't just going to come in and phone it in. He was going to, look, he would give you a cigar and say, look, okay, well, tell me what it tastes like.
Oh, but that was before managing.
Okay.
So here's the thing. When I finished my studies, I went to live in Switzerland. So I did a year there, and then I came back. And right when I was going to start college at 18 years old, I wanted to work at the same time. But he didn't want me to work. He just wanted me to focus on my studies.
Mm-hmm.
So he said no, that I shouldn't work here. And I said, well, no, it's just a temporary no. I just need him to say yes. So I went straight to human resources, and I filled my application, and they hired me. So I started like a peripheric, training program where I worked in every single department here. Mm-hmm. That was the time when I would smoke with my dad, and he would ask me, what did I think about a cigar? And I would say, oh, I like it. And he was like, what do you mean that you like it? That's not an answer.
It's not an answer.
That's not an answer. And he would tell me about how you would feel the different profiles on the palate, how you had to identify the same way you would do on a food or a wine, the bitterness, the sweetness of the tobacco, how the different tobaccos make a blend. And that's when I started learning. That was before I actually came back, because after a while, I left and I went to banking. I went to work on a bank, and he called me back. And that's when I started managing the company, when I was 22.
So what's the best advice he gave you as he's handing you those reins?
What's the best advice? He's given me so much good advice. But I guess the best advice my dad has given me is just to do everything in an honest way. My dad's a very honest man, and I think that's why he's had so many blessings, because everything he does, it's very honestly. And I appreciate that, because, in every business, there's a way things can go sideways. And I can thank him and my mom for bringing me up in the right way, that I know always to do the right thing. And I appreciate that. It applies to any business.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be on the cigar business.
So when, it all starts out where you're following in what he's guiding you on and things like that. But at some point, you have your own ideas, particularly when you came back. So let's talk about when you came back and didn't necessarily like the direction, and you wanted, this is 180 degrees. This is very different. How did that go with him even talking, hey, I want to go a completely different direction?
Well, actually, that he supported.
He did? Okay.
Yeah, he understood that. And of course, it had to be done the right way. And we did. We notify way in advance to all the clients that we had. We said, how much can we do in a year in order for them to change suppliers?
Yeah, you were cutting people out, just so everybody understands. You were basically just saying, look, we're getting rid of 3/4 of our production or whatever it was at that point. So here's a young person coming back out of bank finance and go, you know what, here's my answer. My answer is, let's get rid of 3/4 of our clients.
Yes, exactly. But we did it the right way. Anyways,
right.
We gave the heads up, and some of them, they were very close with my family, and we went personally to give them the heads up and to tell them what the plan was of production, so they could have enough, and they could find another supplier who can do the same brands for them. It was the funniest time, because if we're gonna cut the cash flow, because we're gonna cut everything, Dad, it's coach. We're gonna be at the end of the plane, and that's what the factory can afford. So You're flying way back with me. It was the funniest time. It was a good time. I appreciate those times. It's the best times for me.
How are you not like your father?
How am I not like my father? I've never thought of that. That's a good question. I guess I'm way more sentimental than he is. He has a gold heart. Don't get me wrong, but I'm way more sentimental in leadership and in everything, like, I need to be not friends, but I need to have like a very strong relationship with like all the people that I work with. But he's more, you know, like the type of leader that people are like in awe with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that.
You don't like that?
I feel uncomfortable with that.
Okay.
I don't like people, you know, like here in Spanish you have the usted or jefa. I don't like that.
You don't like the labels?
No, I don't like labels at all. So in that we're kind of different, and I don't know. I think his upbringing was so strong that I'm so like him in so many ways that it's odd. If I think of something else, I'll tell you later on. But
so you're trying, for lack of a better term, you're trying to warm it up or personalize it, the brand. So that also meant changing the entire name of the factory.
Yes, because at that point we were Corporación Cigar Export, CCE.
Which sounds very fancy.
No, it was horrible. And the logo, it was horrible. Let's just say it was horrible. But De Los Reyes Cigar was the name that my dad started with in a beautiful factory in Jacagua. It was all wooden with a beautiful mango tree. I love that factory. And I said, you know what? It's time to change it back. I need the name back. And thankfully, he kept the name alive, you know, legal-wise. He kept it alive, so it was easy.
Yeah, because you now speaking of legal, you previously, there was a brand that you couldn't sell in the United States, right? Mm-hmm. What was and then you could only sell in Europe, and that was one of the ones that you just said, okay, we're getting rid of that with everything else?
Reyes.
Yeah.
King of Kings, because there's a cigar called King of Kings.
Yeah.
Still we can't.
Yeah.
I've tried.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Are you a morning person or a night person?
I'm a night person.
You're a night person?
I'm a night person.
Why is everybody in the cigar industry a night person?
I have no idea. But
everybody said, so you're one of those people when everybody else is asleep, that's when you can work.
Well, not that. But I do feel more creative at night. And actually I changed because early on I was an early bird. And it changed. Maybe it does have something to do with cigars. Now that you're saying it, maybe it does have something to do with cigars, because previous on in my life, I was an early bird. Mm-hmm. And now I'm completely
night
owl.
Not a morning person. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the name change. We're talking about that. And you changed it to Saga. Yes. So first, before we talk about this, which is amazing,
thank you.
Tell me about the name Saga.
Well, Saga, it's like my first baby, because when my dad was still, you know, like, yes, I'm managing the company, but my dad was still coming like once a week or once every 2 weeks. We were making the Don Julio Punta Espada, which was my first big cigar project. But then I wanted to do something on my own that didn't have the Reyes anywhere. And looking for names and everything, I was telling Jean-Michel that one of the reasons that I fell in love with the cigar industry is it's the connection, the stories, the way that you go to any cigar lounge. At least it happened at that time, that absolutely no one had any idea who I was. You could connect. Still, it happens now. What am I saying? It still happens now. You get in and you connect with anyone. You have someone that it's blue collar next to someone that works, you know, in construction. You have very different people there, and you connect because of this. And also because I truly believe that every cigar tells you a story, whether it is because of the blend it has or the country of origin. And when we were talking about that, the name Saga came on. And I was like, I love it. That's the name. It's short. It's the same in every single language. It's catchy. It represents what I want. It talks about the generations that pass on without saying the name Reyes. And I was like, in love. But of course, you know what happens with changing generation. My dad was, no. No. That's what you call a bad baseball player here in El Cibao. And I'm like, Dad, are you kidding me? It's here in El Cibao. We're talking about worldwide. But then he approved because what's the restaurant name?
Well, the restaurant's named Saga, which we'll talk about, yeah. So let's talk about the packaging, the short tails, and not only, I mean, how you even got the idea for it, because you have an idea for blend, but you really went for a statement here. And these are the most amazing packages. They're books, and they have, usually in the front of them they've got
a little story.
a little story in here, and then obviously the cigars. But the packaging, tell me about this.
Well, I don't know if everyone knows, but I'm a bookworm. I love to read, like big time. And it was an opportunity to put together two of my loves. Jean-Michel too, he reads a lot. But also because we know that nowadays, which is different than when my dad was making cigars, smokers crave knowledge. Like there's a lot of ways people get knowledge today about cigars, and we wanted to give them a little bit of that. And in this series, the Saga Share Tales, each cigar, it's a different book, and it's a different blend and a different vitola, different size. I wanted to give them unique experiences. So if the first two lines of the Saga brand are about big ideas, like the Golden Age is about the original Piloto Cubano, or if the blend number 7, it's about the possibility of nowadays blending Habano seeds from so many different parts of the world. This is about the little tales, like each of them it's unique in its own way, and that's what we wanted to make. And
How many are there so far?
so far 7.
And is there a plan for
10.
and then it ends at 10? Nope.
Yes.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, it's 10. It's 10. They're already designed. The blends are, like we have the blends, the count is 10.
So when you did the first one and you take it to market, how confident or
reaction?
nervous? Yeah, what did you expect? I mean, you hope everybody embraces it like you do.
Yeah, of course.
But
of course.
Were you nervous
They're
about it,
babies.
or when it?
Actually, I've never felt nervous about launching a cigar.
No, really?
Now that you say that. No,
Yeah.
I've never felt. I guess that you would feel that way if you have a very intended commercial approach into making cigars, but that's not what we do. We just make something that we hope people love. Mm-hmm. And when they do, that's what we want. And thankfully, people love what we do. And this was like boom. Like the books were a thing because it changed your game. Mm-hmm. When you take out a line, people buy sticks. Usually it's not very common for people to go to store and buy the whole
Yeah,
box.
not anymore. Yeah.
Not anymore. But now for us, they just don't want the box. They want the collection because they want to have them all, either for decoration once they're out, or they want to collect them. So it's been a game changer. People have loved this as much as we do, and they appreciate
It'd be like going to a library and I just want to buy these 10 pages of the book and not take the whole book. You want the whole book.
Yeah, they want them all.
What's the riskiest decision you've ever had to make that you can think of? Just that you knew that you were taking risk, but your gut told you to go ahead and do it.
Here, in the factory?
Or anywhere.
No, here definitely was the beginning. That was the riskiest.
Because you felt the pressure of taking over, or the family, or the legacy, or just...
No, just changing everything.
Changing everything.
Because where was the money gonna come from?
Mm-hmm. It had to work.
It had to work, otherwise, it was a very fine line because the cash flow was out. We didn't have any more clients. Launching our own brands and thinking that it had to work, otherwise.
There's no backup plan.
Yeah.
There's no plan B. Yeah. Like, I just let everybody go. They've all found someplace else to make their cigars.
There was no
You
plan
can't call them up and go, hey,
yeah.
just kidding, come back.
There was no plan B. Like,
Yeah.
you can launch one unsuccessful cigar. But for us, that was it. There was like no way going back. So it was very challenging at the beginning. It was very, very challenging.
What's the easiest decision you've ever had to make?
Easiest decision I've ever had to make? I guess Saga. It felt right. Deciding on the name.
The name. Easiest for you, not so much for your dad.
Well, it wasn't his decision to make. I just was very respectful and let him know what my calling was. And thankfully, you know, he's amazing. You know, some people take difficulty on stepping down. For my dad, has been truly easy, letting us grow in our own businesses. For him, it's like, Dad, are you not coming to a trade show? Nirka, like, if I keep going, people are gonna think that I'm still involved in some way. And you've been running this for so long that I don't want people to think that I'm doing anything. And some people still think, actually, that he has something to do with the factory. And he hates that. He hates that people cannot see that I've been doing it all along.
He wants you to get the credit for your work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for some people, it takes, you know, a lot of strength to do that. For my dad, it was an easy thing. You know, it's like, it's you. I didn't went his way with the name, or I took his advice. He still supported me and respected that I stick with my decision.
Over the years, you've, you know, everybody, as they get to know you, because I think everybody initially has the impression like, okay, you know, his daughter's getting the factory, and you just feel like it's just handed, and you obviously had to earn your way. But you also gained a lot of respect business-wise. You're very, very smart. You know the business inside out. So in a business setting, and you're going into a business setting, what's an absolute deal breaker for you? Something that just like, you're just like, you just don't want to hear.
I have two. I have two deal breakers. And one is in the terms of, actually, no, it's the same term, just two different things. It's on the term of equality and how you treat people, which, you know, I absolutely, I am disgusted the way people treat someone based on gender or level, social level. If I see someone disrespecting someone with lower means or because of gender, that's a no. That's a big, big, big no for me.
It's strange in our industry because you talked about it earlier, and I've always felt the same way. You know, you walk into a cigar lounge, and you'll have a millionaire next to a guy that's unemployed, next to a guy that doesn't make a lot, next to whoever, you know, even more money. And in that moment, everybody's equal. And that's the one thing that we all talk about at a lounge. I've smoked with some guys for over 10 years. I don't know what they do for a living. I still don't care what they do for a living. We go to a cigar shop, we solve the world's problems, we go home. But it's strange that when, you know, in an environment that we've all come together for that reason, you still have those inequalities and things when people get down to business.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's very common, and very annoying. And I see it, even in charts. It's funny, because my family knows this about me, and they already know when I'm gonna say no. And they just sit down and laugh. We were waiting on a proposal of some insurance things at the office, they were presenting the charts, blah, 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 and there were a difference between female and male. It was my brother and the human resource director, and me on the conference table, and of course the people who were presenting the business. And my brother's already, when he saw that and he saw my face, he didn't even pay attention because he knew already that I was gonna say no. And when I say no, there's no way on the planet that I'm gonna allow anything to go through because I'm like that. There's no gray area with me in that kind of things. There's no way you're gonna convince me to go the way around. And he just like, okay, it sounded very interesting, but she's not gonna say yes, so I'm just gonna forget about it.
And at that point, they know they screwed up. Yeah. They were talking to the wrong person.
No, they didn't even knew. And I let them finish the whole presentation. I was like, why is it different? And they was like, what? What are you talking about? And then they even explained to me that there was like a law that prohibited, I'm not gonna get into terms. I'm not gonna get into terms. My brother then started laughing. I was like, hey, thanks for visiting. And he just left the table because he knew, you know. Same thing about a famous thing that a lot of people ask me about that I said in an interview about someone asking me on a cigar shop if I could wear a skirt to do events, a short skirt to make events. So I'm like, what? Do you ask Lito or someone to come without a shirt to make events? Like, why is it different? Because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And it's the same feeling, you know?
That actually, and I've heard that story before. We've talked about that. That actually floors me that somebody would do that. You know.
You know, that's a deal breaker for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that gentleman had a lot of stores. I was very interested in doing business with him. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about the blending. Let's talk about blending because you know a lot about just not only because of the history of your family in the fields, but you know a lot about tobacco and blending. And how do you approach blending?
The same way I do food. Inspiration, like you go to the supermarket or to a farmer's market and you find some beautiful tomatoes or whatever, and then you say like, oh, I want to do this fresh salad or this pasta, whatever. So with tobacco, it's the same usually. I like to smoke a lot in pure grade. Actually, for me, one of the most interesting experiences smoking tobacco, it's in pure grade. As far as blends go, there's a level of smoking, but pure grade gives you another level of experience. And when I go to Uncle Leo, where I'm visiting different suppliers, I smoke a lot of pure grade of different, I just like randomly pick Trojas. And I start from there. And I get my inspiration smoking one of these pure grades, and I start building from what I felt there. And that's where it comes from. Usually when people are blending, they already have a concept or a brand or a line in mind. Mm-hmm. Our process is kind of backwards because for us the most important thing is the tobacco. It's not a marketing approach, with all due respect to all the marketers, because I know it's an important job. But for us, it's all about the passion. So tobacco has to speak for itself in order to tell the story, hence Saga. So that's the first step, to get the inspiration somewhere of something that we or me or Jean-Michel did that, and then he came and said like, oh, I found this beautiful tobacco, and then he comes and he gives it to me and I agree or disagree, and I was like, no. And then we start working from there. Then we have a room here in front of the production area, and we have a room there for blending. That room, its only purpose is for blending. And we go there and we start blending there. I don't like labels. So master blender, it's not a name for me. And I would never consider myself a master blender, and I would never say that I make the blends, because no one makes blends by themselves, I believe. Maybe someone does, and I don't want to, say that it's a law. But I'm sitting there with the head of production, with Jean-Michel, and we're all giving opinions at the same time. Mm-hmm. So who's blending? You see, at the end of the day, who's blending? So, of course, I give a final yes. Yeah. Nothing goes to production if I don't approve. But I'm not the blender. We are all blenders here. So the blending process goes there. And there's something about blending that is imagining how that cigar will be once it's aged. That's the difficult part about blending. Because when you're blending, that cigar is beautiful. Once you like that blend, it's beautiful. But when it's aging, it changes. Mm-hmm. It's never the same cigar, never. That's why a lot of people are sending cigars a little bit fresh, hoping they sell quickly, because the cigar changes. And I think that's the skill set needed. Being able to imagine how those tobaccos will marry together once that little bite has left, and how will they actually become once they're aged. And not the 4 months of beauty sleep that I cannot hear about, because you cannot control nature.
Right.
You don't know how many months a cigar will age. I have cigars that age for a year. I have cigars that age 4 months, actually. Others 7 months. I don't know until you let them age. And then you establish sort of a standard.
Have you had blends that just drove you absolutely nuts? Like you just, all of a sudden you go through the aging and you're like, this is not what I
The
thought.
Don Julio.
The Don Julio.
The Don Julio was a nightmare cigar. That's why I say it's my celebration cigar.
Okay.
It is my celebration cigar because it was the most beautiful cigar, as I said, once we were blended. It was a perfect moment, one of those when you look and everyone agrees that's the blend. During the aging, it became bitter. It was horrible. And we're like, okay, we're not launching this cigar this year. It's impossible. It's not coming out. It's not coming out. And it took a year and 2 months.
To settle back down and.
A year and 2 months.
Was it worth the wait?
It was worth the wait.
I get, is it fair to say, so in listening to you and talking to you prior, I get the feeling you approach blending from the standpoint of that you have the tobacco and you know, it's all story related for you and you're trying to help the tobacco tell a story. And you blend not with the preconceived notion of, hey, this has to be strong or this has to be mild. It's like, I'm blending these tobaccos together and see what, you know, I think this is the best blend for them to tell their story. And if it's not the story I want, then I have to play with different tobaccos. Is that fair?
Yeah, I agree. Have you heard about writers sometimes saying that their first books of a line is usually their best because they're not forcing the characters. They just come to them alive and they're just like telling their stories. But once they're out there, you have to continue with them. And then you're kind of building upon that. It's the same when you say like, oh yes, I want to make a mild cigar, so you already know that, well, maybe you have to include a little bit more secos and so on, and not ligeros. But when you're just blending because you found some tobacco, and just for fun, and to see what comes out of it, it's beautiful. You're just letting the tobacco take its own course. And that's why I had someone tell me that here our cigars, we make cigars, not only our brands, but for other different people. And someone told me that our cigars resemble a little bit their brand owners because we make them do the same exercise. We don't let them tell us, oh, I want to make a cigar. No. Come. And in a way, I think that's why it works, because we let the tobacco kind of speak of the will of the person who wants to blend it.
One thing I find interesting at your factory, you know, you talk about the tobacco and the importance of the tobacco, but there's a quality element that we haven't really talked about as much, and you have 2 sets of draw tests, which some factories have none, some have 1, but you have 2 stages of which you draw test the tobacco, that it's important to you that the quality is there.
Well, the thing is that since we focus on quality and not quantity, we are allowed to do ourselves a lot of tests to ensure quality, because if that's what we're selling, we have to make sure that the quality of our cigars are top notch. So what we do is that we leave our bunches for a whole day on the press, and it allows us to do the weight measure of the bunch. We also do a construction test in which the supervisors, sadly, I know, but they disarm the cigar, the bunch, I'm sorry, to see that the conformation of the leaves is exactly as it's supposed to be. And then we do the test on the draw master of every single cigar that we make here. It's very sad when you go and you take a cigar and then your cigar doesn't burn or it doesn't smoke very well. So we want to make sure that we give our customers a good experience. And I like how Phil, one of our clients, puts it, like, we don't make cigars. We give our customers reasons to enjoy life. So if that's what we're selling, you shouldn't have to work for your cigar. Your cigar has to work for you. And for us, it's important to take our time to make sure that our cigars are very smooth.
Who would you consider has influenced you in the cigar world outside of your family?
In what way?
It's open. I mean, either in running cigars or philosophy, just somebody that you have felt has passed on good advice.
That it's not a member of my family.
Yes. An outside influence.
Hanky.
Hanky.
Probably Hanky is the person with whom I've traveled the most. Even I think I've traveled more with Hanky than with my own father. So I've had a lot of time to talk to him. As everyone knows, he's very knowledgeable. And I feel very blessed to have all these moments with him. And I love how passionate he is. And I've heard his speeches in so many different places. And I've heard him compare one of his cigars to the David. And it's so unique. It's so unique because in a way, his way of seeing cigars, it's not very different to the way I see it. For him, it's more of a friend.
Yes.
He sees cigars more of a friend. But the way he tells it is a story. So I embrace that a lot, and I think I'm very influenced by the way he speaks about cigars.
That's a good person to have connections with.
Yes.
I think you've put a different face on. Look, there's not enough women in the industry, so I'm gonna address the question, but it's an annoying question. But I want to do it in a different way because I don't like the question of a woman in a man's world and stuff like that. I just think that it's obvious. It makes no sense.
Fred, we've talked a lot for me to know that you're not biased in that way.
No, I'm not. No, I just don't like the question in general. But I do want to ask this though: as a woman, what advantages do you feel you have over men in this field?
I guess that we're more oriented on details, and that actually has helped on create unique things. And of course, on seeing the industry on a different level, because I don't know anyone who's doing cigars the way that we do it. It's a very unique way of production. It's a very unique way of packaging. Everything is quite different than what I see around. Also, I guess management-wise, I have a lot of people that have done all the tours in Pro Cigar, and they always tell me that when they come to the factory, they feel this family atmosphere here. And I guess it's because of that, because we call ourselves a family. We don't call ourselves a business. And you can actually feel it. You can feel the passion of the employees. You can feel that when we're doing something crazy and new, everyone's pitching in and they want to help, genuinely. And I guess it has to do with me being a female, and I actually embrace it, and I see it as a positive thing because change is good. And I am not the person who, I consider myself a person who fights for equality, but I don't believe that we are the same. We have different skill sets, and that's fine, because that brings diversity. And for example, I'm a woman, but Jean-Michel, who's basically my second in command, he's a man. And because of that, I believe we come as a strong team together, because we have different ideas and then we complement each other very, very well. And I guess that makes us better.
I like that. Do you have any bucket list items? Cigar, not going to be cigar related, but just something that you want to do that you haven't done yet. Travel somewhere.
Oof,
or
I have so many things on my bucket list that you don't have time for it. But
give me a couple.
A couple, okay. So with my husband, we want to go to Japan. We haven't been there. That's like very high on our list. I want to go skydiving. Haven't done that.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not happening for me. But my wife has done it, but no, not happening.
So you see, apparently women are more risk takers.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I'm okay with that. I'm okay not jumping out of a plane. That's fine. I won't even bungee jump.
No?
No.
Okay.
No.
I want to write a book.
Okay.
That's on my bucket list.
What would the book be about?
I don't know that.
You don't
I don't
know?
know yet. I'm sure because I know myself, it'll be more than one. But I don't know. I have so many things that I like that I don't know what it will be about. So
You mentioned reading, that you like to read. Do you have a favorite book or a book that you'll read multiple times? You'll go back and reread it. You just like the book so much?
I've read so many books multiple times. But just because it was one of these books that my mom loved as a girl, and then she passed it on to me. I wouldn't say it's my favorite book because it's kind of a sad book. But it's good to share mom and daughter things. It's Maria by Jorge Isaac. It's a Latin, so it's a Spanish book, so I don't think it's a very well-known book. But it's something that I cherish. And then well-known, Little Prince.
Little Prince? Okay.
It's a book you can read. It doesn't matter the age, and it'll teach you something important.
What's funny about that book is that depending on your age, you have different takeaways from it. Like you literally should read it at 10, 25, 40, whatever, and you have different takeaways from it. That's a good one. What about movies? Do you have a favorite movie?
No, I don't have a
No?
favorite movie. No, I don't have a favorite.
Let's talk about the restaurant, which shares the name Saga.
Yes.
So
He stole it.
he stole it. For the guy that didn't like the name, he sure embraced
exactly.
it.
No, but please ask him that. He says it's Sabores Gastronómicos. When I tell him that, he says that the name is not Saga. Even in the menu, the first menu, it didn't say Saga. It said Sabores Gastronómicos.
That's true. That's true. To go there, to have a restaurant that is within your family, to go there, and we're actually going to do a whole episode of hanging out there. It's a unique place.
I know. I love it. And it's not a biased opinion.
Well, I imagine it's not a biased opinion because you don't eat most of what's on the menu.
No, exactly. Now, I did before though.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like the atmosphere. It's very homey, of course. I get to smoke cigars freely, which is not very common in restaurants. But it's the atmosphere that I like the most. I don't know. It's the only restaurant that you can go any day and you're gonna find a cigar maker there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice, and food is good, even the very limited things I can eat because I'm a vegan. And yeah, Saga is famous for the tomahawk.
I know, that just cracks me up because I don't know how many tomahawks I've eaten there, and just, honestly, for the first several years after it opened, I don't think I had any other steak.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the other night when we saw you there,
Yeah.
I think that's the first time I didn't have a tomahawk.
Because you were waiting on Christian.
I know. I was waiting on a friend to come down and we'll have it together. But what's your favorite part about this whole journey that you've had so far?
The experiences with people is my favorite. I've had moments that they just genuinely blow my mind. I was on an event in Texas, on a Cigar for Warriors event.
Mm-hmm.
And I was giving this speech about how we had to, fight for rights with what the FDA was doing and all that. And a veteran gave me his challenge coin because he thought that not even in his family he had found someone more deserving of it. And for me, that was like, I started crying. That was a lot to take in. And I don't imagine myself like working on another industry that people would feel so connected with you in order to do that, Because I was there doing something because I felt so bad that we were unable, because of the FDA, I'm not American, but because of the FDA, I was unable to hand free cigars to people who were fighting or to veterans. I couldn't. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't. So that was, you know, like these type of moments that I've had in the cigar industry, or one that I had in Intertabak in Dortmund. There was this retailer in Belgium that he had his mind set straight that he would never buy a cigar from this factory. Never. Because he tried cigars from our previous stage and he believed that we didn't have good quality cigars. And you know, it was something he told a lot of people. And I visited him in Belgium just before the trade show. And I talked to him, I gave him some cigars. And he was a very pleasing gentleman. Very nice gentleman with his wife, very nice. Then he went with his friends to the show and we were sitting in a lounge setting and he asked me to tell his friends my story, what I did with the factory, how I blended the cigars, so on, so on, so on. And I was having a normal conversation with him. This 70-year-old man started crying in the middle of the trade show of how proud he was of everything that I've done. And he would carry every single cigar I would ever make. He will have them on his store.
Wow.
So when you have moments like this, it doesn't matter how many awards I can get or how many cigars I have on a list. That's why I work for. To have someone truly appreciate what we do here. So these are the moments that I work for. These are the moments that I value the most. This is what makes me keep going, and it doesn't matter the adversities that I may face. It's what keeps my passion flame lighting all the time.
That's good. I like that. Let's talk about Pro Cigar. What does it mean to you to have? Let's talk about the festival. Let's talk about the Pro Cigar Festival. What it means to have people from all over the world come to one location. They come to the events and the factory.
It's amazing to get so many people together in one place. Pro Cigar has given me not one, but many of my greatest friends. Pro Cigar has done that. And not only from Dominican Republic, but from Russia, from many different places. And it's a unique experience. It's something that you cannot even explain or put in words. It's something you have to live it. You have to experience it. And for me, it was actually my introduction to the world of cigars. Pro Cigar was my introduction to, you're managing, you're doing Pro Cigar, this is it. This is for you. You have to do it. And it has a special place in my heart, even though once it's over, it's like you run a marathon and you're super tired. Your heart is so full from all the people you meet and all the conversations and all the people that come to your factory, and then you see them again at the dinners, and then you become friends. And then they come again because they want to see you again, and they want to tell you that they saw your cigars in this place. And they become truly, like, it doesn't matter if there's like a retailer from a certain area that doesn't come, because the consumers that come, they become your ambassadors. Mm-hmm. And they fight so your cigars are in the shop that they go to because they met you. And that's something so unique and beautiful. And the organization of the event, that's a whole other thing. Like the ladies that pull that together, that they're right now running around because it's next week and they're going crazy, that's amazing. Like, I don't know how they do it, and it gets better every year. And I missed it so much last year. So I think that this year is going to be better.
We weren't able to have it last year.
I think that's the reason why probably this year it's going to be more special, because we didn't have it last year.
Obviously, Sago, worldwide with cigars, but you've never lost sight of the Dominican culture, to where everything you wear at Pro Cigar, which is basically the world stage at that moment, you're the ambassador to the country, even all your clothes is, I mean, if you didn't have cigars, would you be in fashion? Is that what you would do? Is that your love for that? I mean, but I know you represent, you wear all Dominican items.
Yes, I don't think that if I wouldn't be in cigars, I would be in fashion. The thing is that I see clothes as art, and I like supporting artists, and that's why I wear Dominican clothes. This is a Dominican designer, Joseph Sanchez, that it's supported by a beautiful place in Santo Domingo that it's called Indomita, and in this place they support Dominican artists. Whereas it's painters, sculptors, fashion designers, jewelers. And I think it's very unique because usually in Dominican Republic, we have these things where we embrace a lot of things from the United States, from Europe, but we don't truly embrace our own things. And I am very thankful for the cigar industry because it made me look in. Like, how can we make these beautiful cigars and not see how many more beautiful things we have in this country? And in a way, since I started traveling and going outside, and I said, you know, in a way, I am an ambassador of my country.
Sure.
And that's when I started looking for Dominican brands, Dominican clothing brands, Dominican jewelers. And I think it's so beautiful because Dominican Republic has so much to offer. And I love it. I love that I get to support and enjoy what other people are doing, because people talk about cigars and people talk about coffee or cocoa and rum, but there's so much more. There's so much richness and handmade. And in a way, I think it all blends beautifully, and I don't know, I think it makes me feel more authentic, more in my skin too, to be able to portray a little bit more of what my country is. I really, really, really feel, I don't know, more Dominican in a way.
This shows up, I noticed, so Friday night of Pro Cigar, for those that don't know, is an auction, a charity auction.
Yes.
And every year, you donate to that auction, and you guys build an over-the-top humidor. And I've seen this year's, which is not out yet, but but what's important about those, I find, into what you're saying, is that you incorporate something
Of
in
the Dominican culture.
Yeah, there's always something, whether it's a cigar press, which is obviously cigars, the monument. I'm not going to say what this year's is, but well, it won't matter because I'm going to put this out afterwards. But
Yeah.
that really shows, and that's a year-long process for you to figure out what that piece is going to be.
Yeah, the thing is that it's the same. There's so much beauty around if you just stop to see it or just like take it or find it, and to portray that, because some of them are bought by someone that doesn't live in Dominican Republic, and it's giving them something of ours.
Do you have a favorite one you've made so far? Looking back at all the ones you've made, and they're all, it's an unfair question. It's like saying who your favorite kid is. You're not allowed to have an answer, but in reality, they're all so different, it's hard to pick one. Do you have a favorite one?
They're all so different. I think I would say the monument, just because it was the first architectural humidor we made. And that was a challenge too, because my father didn't believe that we should make those sort of humidors. You remember how it was before we started
Sure.
the trend.
Yeah, yeah.
It was also started the trend. Before it was, the normals, rectangular, squared humidors.
Now, just to be honest though, you say the monument was a difficult one to make. Every one of them has been difficult to make.
No, I'm not saying difficult. It was
Okay.
the first.
Of a building.
No, actually the first one was a replica of the little houses, the colorful Victorian
right.
houses that we
Yeah.
have upstairs. But that was kind of squared. That was the first one. And my dad was like, no, I don't know. But then it was the monument. And that was, architectural level. That one we needed blueprints and everything to make. And I think that's why it has to be. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it has a fun memory because it was the first time in the history of Pro Cigar that we had, figures in a humidor. And for me, that's why I like it, because in order to get more, we give more. If we auction for more money, we give more money. And so everyone was like, they did that.
It stepped up the game.
Yeah, exactly. So now everyone does great things, and I like that.
Tell me about you're building a house now, and an eco-friendly,
No, it's a certified ecological house. So yeah, it's not only vegan, I'm very into eco, buy local, do everything to help the planet. My husband thankfully supports me into all the crazy things that I want to do. So we're starting to build our dream house, and it's amazing. We've been working on the blueprints for a year and a half, and it has everything that we want. But also the good thing about it is that everything is ecological. 70% of the materials are from Dominican Republic, and that includes everything that goes in the inside. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing. We're very excited. It's, people dread construction, but for us, this project, it's something that we've been dreaming on, and thankfully, it's going to be possible. It is possible because it's happening, and I can't wait to actually move there.
What's your favorite moment of Pro Cigar? Like, is it a night, a favorite dinner? The tours of the factory obviously is a given. You love to share that with you. But is there a moment that you just go, I like this moment in Pro Cigar?
Wow. Favorite moments in Pro Cigar? Oh, that's so difficult. I definitely like giving the tours.
Yeah.
I love giving the tours because it gives me a one-to-one connection with people that sometimes at dinners you lose. So that's special. I like the welcome cocktail party a lot because it's smaller.
It is. It's not 500 people at a dinner.
Exactly.
It's manageable.
It's manageable. You can actually talk to people. I like the welcome party just because it's not all the big fuss, and that's also I think you see it's the connection. If I can tell you like many it's all gonna be about the connection where I can connect with people. That's my favorite part.
What's the next chapter of Saga?
I don't know. That's the thing. When you don't, of course I know there has to be growth and all that, and we do have a budget and all that. But as far as what's coming, what's the next stage, the tobacco has to tell me. That story belongs to the tobacco, solely to the tobacco. And yes, we're making plans with new fields. That's something. I want to be more hands-on the field. That it's something that I haven't tried before. I want to be working more alongside with Monica, which she is amazing at what she does. That's why we made one of the books about one of her beautiful tobacco, the Shirt Tails #2. And it's something that I want to get more involved because nowadays, as you well know, the tobacco is getting harder to get. And I am a person that I want to give continuity to lines and to blends. So in order for me to do that, I need to have even more control on the tobacco. So that's a new chapter of the saga, having more control on the fields and the tobacco.
Well, the saga story, as far as making cigars, has just started. So I look forward to seeing where it goes.
It has.
And thank you for sitting down, and we've had many conversations, but thank you for sitting down and sharing with some people that may not be here.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks.